Hello, everybody. Welcome to another conversation with the Three Geeks Podcast. It's Justin and I back together. It's been a while since Justin and I have done one of these together. Today, we are joined by Rocky Kramer, who is a musician. Rocky, how are you doing?
Doing well. How are you?
I'm doing great, man. Can't complain. It's been a good week so far.
Awesome.
So tell us about yourself. What got you into music?
Oh, you know what? I come from a musical family, so music was just it was in the house. So I caught the bug, and which might be a bad thing to say these days, but yeah, it was. My father was a first violinist in the Trondheim Symphony Orchestra. So and my mother was she was in the choir. So that's how they met, and that's how basically that's why I exist. So there's a lot of classical music in the house, and I started on the violin because my father's a violinist, and it sort of went from there to the electric guitar because I fell in love with rock and roll, and hey, here I am. I still love it. Still love playing guitar, and now I'm doing it without having to worry about school and all those things. It's just what I do all day.
So was that a little contentious? Was that a little bit of butting heads if you have a violinist father and a guitarist son? Was that like a little different?
Well, I was definitely encouraged to stick with the violin, and it was a bit of a battle there, but I definitely realized the moment I played guitar that this was the instrument for me, and that as much as I when I picked up a violin, I basically knew how to play it immediately. It was just there. It was like it was meant to be. Like this was my instrument. So I played that for years, not really thinking so much about it. But the moment I played guitar, there was a different feeling. It was more like that I chose it instead of it choosing me.
Sure.
And that means something. So and the other aspect of it was that I liked writing music on the guitar, because on the violin it was always something that was Vivaldi or something very old, hundreds of years old, something that many people had played before, and I guess I liked switching to the guitar because I could kind of do something on my own, even though technically I'm not saying you can't write music on a violin. You certainly can, and don't get me wrong, but I definitely felt more inspired to write on the guitar because of the chords and everything. I guess probably the same thing with the piano, because
Sure.
on the violin you're playing maybe one or two notes at the same time. On the guitar you can play 6 strings at once, and that's kind of just a part of the guitar.
I love the sound of the guitar and the piano. I think the piano is totally underused these days, but I love the guitar. It's how rock and roll music's made. Right? Can you have rock and roll without a guitar?
I sure hope not. I think some people they try to replace it with synthesizers, and I'm not here to say anything bad about synthesizers because I like synthesizers too. But I think that guitars have it's just a certain sound. It's probably the distortion, and which was really something that was never really meant to be that way. It was just because back in the old days they were turning their amps up because people couldn't hear, so they had to turn them all the way up, and they just, because they're tube amps, they would distort. It was just a natural part of the technology. It was the limitation of technology that basically created the sounds that we're all used to, and then of course it became so recognizable that people started making amps that would distort even on a lower level, and that's where we are now. And now amps are so incredible that it's amazing.
What groups did you grow up listening to?
I remember like the first band I was really into was Kiss, and I don't know if you guys are Kiss fans, but the lack of response, I will say no.
No, I like Kiss. I was an AC/DC guy primarily, but I like Kiss.
All right, if you're gonna say AC/DC, let's switch to AC/DC because I can talk about Kiss all day. When I was 12, that's when I caught the AC/DC bug, and again here with catching bugs. I don't know why I'm doing this, but I remember buying every CD of AC/DC. That's a little tricky one to say. And I had to go to all these different record stores back in the days when there were record stores, and it was just even though you can say AC/DC is kind of every album is the same. I maybe that's the right thing to do. It's the formula they have. Like they figured it out. We're not going to experiment. We're just going to keep it the same way, and it works for them somehow.
Yeah, it definitely
great.
did. Yeah, it definitely did.
It's simple, but it works, and that's that's a good thing. So definitely love AC/DC. I also even early on was listening to Black Sabbath and Ozzy, kind of heavier stuff, and I've been through a lot. I've listened to, I think, everything at this point that is of interest, but Yngwie Malmsteen, who is a great Swedish guitar player, was a big influence when I was about 13, 14, and that sort of made a big difference. And there's a band called Dream Theater, which is progressive metal, definitely changed a lot of things for me, just in terms of how you write a song, how you keep the listener interested, because a lot of their songs are 10 minutes, maybe 15 minutes long, and you can't just have a verse and chorus, another verse and chorus, and then another verse and chorus when you're writing songs like that. So and I was always interested in the progressive side, and which of course I have to mention Pink Floyd, because Pink Floyd was one of the early bands that I listened to that really blew me away, because it was more than just music. A lot of like AC/DC, that's music, it's rock and roll, you're listening to it. But Pink Floyd is almost like, when you're listening to it, you can almost, zone out, and
it's an experience. Yeah, for sure.
It's an experience when you're listening to it, hopefully on a good stereo, and all that, or good headphones. But it's just, it's an amazing, it's something you've never heard before. Some of those songs are just unbelievable. And I think that was a big deal to me, was hearing something that just is so different than what you hear normally at least on the radio, or the popular stuff.
So was there a Norwegian band that really spoke to you too? Was there a regional band that you really enjoyed that people might not know about?
Definitely early on. There's a band called TNT, and they're probably the biggest rock band, at least from Trondheim, which is where I'm from. And they are a big, at least in Norway, but they have an American singer, or at least they used to. I'm not sure where they're at right now. They've been a little bit, they've had like a reunion a little bit. Okay, he's in Skid Row, and now he's back. And he's Tony Harnell. So he's played he's been in a few other bands. So, but that was my first experience with rock and roll, was seeing them at a dress rehearsal, and just that blew me away. I think I was 6 years old, and I got to see dry ice coming out, that looks like fog on the stage floor, and it's amazing, like when you see that in real life, because it's like magic, and especially at that age, magic is still relatively real, and it's really fun to see something like that in real life. It's not just in the movies, and just having them right in front of me, it was like, oh my God, I want to do this. And so that was definitely an inspiration. But also just in school, we had a band in school that was, for some reason, they were really good, like they were this awesome band, kind of like AC/DC in a sense. They did play a few AC/DC songs over the years for the school, and they just sounded really cool. And it was like, yeah, that's what I want to do. That was, even though we never sounded that good.
It's all relative, right? It's a lot of fun. What brought you to LA, or what kind of pulled you into the States, I guess? What brought you here?
Well, because when you want to be a musician, it was hard to get going in Norway, because the music industry is a little bit limited, and a lot of it is they want you to sing in Norwegian, they want you to sing about Norwegian things, and not that I have anything against that. It was just it wasn't what I was doing. I was very influenced by British and American music, and I always wrote, or not necessarily always, but 99% of my songs were in English. Even when my English was terrible, I would still write, English lyrics and try to make sense of it. And looking at it, years later, it's like, wait, what does this mean? But so I realized eventually that if I want to make it, I have to go to the US, and I decided to go to LA eventually, even though I was considering New York and LA, and I picked LA because I like palm trees and the nice.
Definitely the right choice in my opinion.
Yeah, I think I made the right choice in that sense, because it's an happening town, and I just wanted to go here and see if I would meet people. So I really went here. I mean, officially, I went here to study. I went to school here, and I just figured I'll go to Hollywood on the weekends and see if I can make anything happen. And eventually, I did. And so that's how I got involved with Allied Artists and got a record deal and all those things. So that's it sort of slowly happened, even though I was definitely wasn't sure if it ever was going to happen when I first got here and played a few gigs and for like 3 people. It hurts, but yeah. So eventually I ran into I met a guitar player who was the guitar player for Alice Cooper and Blues Image and Iron Butterfly, Mike Pinera, and that's his name, not in the band, even though he was in a band called Mike Pinera, I guess. But so he's the one that introduced me to Kim Richards, who is the CEO of Allied Artists International, and he's the one that got my career going. And he produced the album Firestorm, which is out now, or it's out last year actually, and kind of got the ball, pushed that snowball down the hill,
Right.
Have you been able to do any online concerts since the pandemic happened?
That is actually what I've been doing. It's pretty much all I can do. And when the pandemic happened, I wasn't sure what to do right away, because we were planning on going on tour in the summer, and the tour wasn't going to happen. Mm-hmm. And we looked at all the options, and we were looking at different streaming sites, and I was familiar with Twitch, and I already had an account, so I decided to start streaming on Twitch. So basically turned into a weekly show called Rock and Roll Tuesdays, and it's at 7 p.m. Pacific every Tuesday, and it's really just 2 hours of me playing rock and roll, and we can talk about rock and roll, and I sing and I play guitar, and we have a good time. And we did a show last night. It was good. A lot of hundreds of people stop by every night, so it's nice. Or every Tuesday night, I should say.
Right.
So we have a good time, and actually develop fans because of it. It's not just people that were fans, but a lot of people who didn't know who I was. They stop by and just what's this? Well, what's this about? And then all of a sudden they're there next week, and that's cool. It's nice to develop fans at a time when a lot of people are just kind of feel like they're stuck not being able to do anything, because there's not a lot of production, and obviously there's no tours and concerts. And I do definitely I look forward to going back to that, but it keeps me working hard, because otherwise, maybe you just don't want to work because you don't have anything to work towards.
Right.
I like always having a goal. I think that's really important. Whatever's going on, you should always have something that you're working towards, so that you're staying busy and staying healthy and all those things. Try to avoid all the bad habits.
Curious, what age did you learn English?
I guess it depends on how you look at it. I first had English at about the age of 7 in school, but it was pretty basic, and we don't have our English is all grammar and maybe a little bit of writing and all that. Like in the US, English it becomes about literature and all those things, and you're reading books and stuff, but it's always grammar for us. And we were done with English in school at the second year of high school. So we're not even like, when you're graduating high school, you're already done with English, or I guess you can technically learn more if you want to. And I the first time I was in the US, I was 9 years old, and I barely spoke English, and it I remember, I guess it was at like immigration or something where they're like asking you questions, and my dad was talking to them, and he asked me a question, and I was like, what is he saying? And I just wanted to do it. But I knew from an early age that I wanted to move here. So at least from like 13, 14, I was really paying close attention to English and watching. Of course, I watch a lot of shows on TV that are made in the US, and it's all in English. And unlike countries like Germany and France or Spain, where they overdub everything in their own language, everything in Norway it has subtitles. So you get the original language. So we watch The Simpsons in English with subtitles, whereas in Germany it's all, it's in Deutsch, it's in Deutsch, and du hast yeah. I was trying to say something in German. I had German in school, by the way, but it's not enough to say.
Turn into Robstein.
Yeah. It's like,
the reason I asked is because you speak English like somebody who spoke it their whole life.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that.
But have you met any of the guys from KISS yet? Gene Simmons, Paul Stanley, Ace Frehley, any of those guys?
I have. I'll tell you a little short story. I was at when I was recording demos with Mike Pinera before getting signed with Allied Artists. Mike invited me to the Roxy. Are you guys in LA, by the way?
No, we're in Ohio.
Okay, so if you don't know what the Roxy is, it's a club in Hollywood or yeah, I guess you can call it Hollywood. Is it West?
As soon as the pandemic is over, I'm going to Hollywood for an extended vacation.
He's moving
because I get to work from home, so I'm going to take my work to California for a few weeks. It's going to be great.
Love it. Sounds good. Awesome. Yeah, I mean it's hopefully that'll be soon, right?
All right.
Yeah.
So the Roxy. So Gene was playing there and he was doing something with Gene Simmons' Family Jewels. So they were there. So we went there for that, and Gene and Eric Singer and Tommy Thayer were at the Rainbow, which is right next door. Rainbow is like the famous restaurant where all the rockers go to, I guess, to get drunk. Lemmy was a big fan of the Rainbow. He used to go there. He actually used to live very close by, so he would just walk down there because he didn't have a driver's license. He would just walk down there and play the video poker, every night or something. And I suppose to drink and things like that,
Sure.
So it was just that type of place. Ron Jeremy is there a lot too, or was. Now he's, not sure what he's doing.
Whatever he wants to do, right?
Whatever. Well, yeah. Well, he's had some legal issues. I don't know if he's is he locked up or not. I have
no idea.
But so anyway, so we were there. So Gene was there, and Tommy and Eric were there. I sort of briefly was introduced to them, but very briefly. And I talked a little bit to Eric at the Roxy afterwards, just a little bit. Just wanted to say, thank you for everything, and kept it very short. I don't like to bother people. And what do you say anyway? What do you say to people?
Yeah, it's hard.
Your idols, because they've heard everything, right? And I feel like I don't want to be just a parrot saying the same things, even though I appreciate everything they've done and I love everything they've done. But I still, do I bother them like a fan and start talking about, really complicated questions about their past? Because a lot of the times they don't even remember.
Right.
Ask Ace Frehley about 1977. He's not going to know.
There's a lot of beer between now and then. Yeah.
Yeah.
Beer, and other substances. I'm sure.
Illicit. Yeah. So how did your band, kind of form? I know you mentioned meeting your guitarist, but how there's a couple other folks in your band, right? So how did that come about?
So when I came here, I didn't know anyone. I didn't have a band. I didn't have anybody working with me. So after getting signed, we basically said, well, before we go in the studio, we need a band. And we decided that it might make more sense to find more of a permanent band than just hiring some session guys on the album and then have somebody different on the tour, and then have somebody different on the next album. figured see if we can find somebody that is more like permanent that we can put on the website and all that. So we started auditioning drummers, and we had like 17 drummers auditioned in one day, and it was a hot day at this rehearsal facility in I guess it's in Burbank, and the last guy was Alejandro Mercado, who had just moved from Chicago, and he was just sort of figuring out LA, and it was one of his first auditions for a band, and it was exciting. Like his mother drove him there. Awesome. It was kind of cute, the whole thing, and he came in, and we were kind of tired, but excited, and hopefully he was the right one. And when he first started playing, we were just blown away by his power, because he's shorter than me, but he plays like he's much bigger than me, like he's a big monster, like John Bonham, and in addition to that, he was hilarious. He was very funny, had a great personality, and we got along right away. And sometimes that's like that big bonus you get when you find the right person, because I think a lot of those drummers could have probably played everything and played it would have been fine, they would have delivered. But I think Alejandro, and it's not just, I'm not saying we hired him just for his personality. Sure. We also had, after working with him for a while, I realized that he started adding little things to his parts, which made the drums much more interesting. And it's actually kind of helped me as a songwriter when I think about how the drums should be. Thinking about sort of the little things that he's added actually has helped me in that regard. So it's interesting how you learn from other musicians. And sure. But anyway, he brought in Michael Dwyer, who was teaching at MI. He's a bass teaching bass, or I guess it's like a punk bass class. Even though he's not really like a punk bass player. He's very versatile. He's a great bass player. So he was teaching there while Alejandro was he was a student, right? Sure. And that's how they met. So he just like asked him, "Do you want to audition?" And we'd already auditioned a couple of bass players, and it wasn't the right fit yet. You know what I mean? So Michael came in, and all of a sudden it just made sense with the three of us. But my music is just, there's a lot of keyboard, a lot of instrumentation, which is kind of because I come from a classical background. I'm used to hearing orchestras. So I want to sort of bring in that orchestra sound, in a rock band. Sure. And that's a little bit, sometimes that's a little bit tricky, because you got to switch sounds, and you might have to have a lot of keyboards and all that. But so I knew it wasn't going to be the super easy thing to do. So we did audition a lot of keyboard players, and we've been through a few. Like we had John Dunmore play on the album, and he was in the band for a while, and then we had Alessandro Bertoni was playing with us on some shows, and then now it's Matt Grossman, who was on tour with us in the UK, and he's really, really awesome. Who's interestingly also plays very well classical piano. So it's a really good fit, because he's both into the rock and into the classical. So it sort of works very well with what I'm doing. So it looks like this is going to be the lineup from now on, and hopefully we'll be in the studio. I'm hoping at least in this year. Yeah. Things aren't too crazy. I know some people are in the studio right now, but it's a little. We're just being a little extra careful, just so that we don't do anything stupid.
So it kind of brings up two questions that I had, and they're kind of the same question, but two different parts of it. What was your favorite venue to tour to, and favorite band? I assume you travel with other bands. Favorite band to travel with?
So I would say that the most recent tour was with the Buck Cherry, and it was pretty pleasant, because they had their own bus, and then we had our own arrangement. We had a big van, which sounds small, but we had 9 people in there, and we had lots of room and everything. But they were very nice. They were very pleasant with us. And there was another band called the treatment, which was there were 3 bands every night, so there was a lot of rock and roll. There was a lot. It was a good value for your money if you saw that show. And we had a good time with those guys. Both bands were very nice, and we got along very well. But we played with some other bands, but we opened up for Black and Blue, which I don't think we ever saw those guys. It's like, where were they? I don't know. We saw them on stage, and it's a little tricky because when you got an opening act that is it's a big band, you don't get to really use their equipment, so it's a little like you have to be in front of their equipment, so it's a little tight space and everything. But that kind of you get used to that. But you're asking about the best venue. Well,
it's your favorite. It doesn't have to be best, just your favorite. Right?
My favorite. I guess I can answer it in a few ways. In the U.S., the Whiskey is a great place. The Whiskey A Go-Go, which is in Hollywood, that's a fun place to play because it's on the Sunset Strip. It is a historic venue, and I just discovered, I guess, a few months ago that Kiss never played there. Their first time playing the Whiskey was, I think, last year.
That's crazy.
I was like, what? I thought they would have played there because they played a lot of other famous venues here in LA, like the smaller ones. I mean, they've obviously played the big ones. Mm-hmm. They've done that many times, but they play the Troubadour and like I said, Gene played the Roxy, and trying to think of the other ones. I think they played other places too. So I was a little bit surprised because the Whiskey is kind of the famous Whiskey, where the Doors and Guns N' Roses and all that stuff. But hey, whatever. I guess Kiss just didn't do it. So finally they did it. So I wasn't able to go. I didn't even find out about it until a couple of days after. I wanted to see that. But so the Whiskey is fun. When we played in the UK, we actually played some good places there. We played like the O2 Academy in London, which is a great venue. And we played, I forget the name of a few of the places, but there was one in Cardiff that I thought was a nice venue. And there were a few other ones that it's always nice to me, it's always more important that the audience is having a good time. Sure. We play, for a different audience every night, and that's sometimes people are like, "What's this?" And a lot of times they're like, "I don't know what it is, but it's cool."
That's awesome.
Well, Rocky, where can everybody find you online?
It's probably the easiest is probably to go to rockykramer.com. That there's a link there to, I believe, everything, but it's usually Rocky Kramer on social media except Facebook, which is Rocky Kramer Official. But everything like Instagram, Twitter, and Twitch, it's all Rocky Kramer in one word, so it should be fairly easy.
Awesome. I want to thank you so much. Where can everybody find the album?
The album is available in multiple ways. It's available on most digital platforms except Spotify. So it is available on Apple Music and Pandora, I guess, and whatever people use. I don't know what people use these days. I have a suspicion a lot of it is Spotify. But if you're the old-fashioned person or maybe a cool person and you like vinyl, then it is available on vinyl. It is a double vinyl, 180 gram, all that stuff, all the goodies. It's the best type of vinyl you'll get. Mastered by Bernie Grundman, who is one of the best mastering engineers in the world. So it's a great experience, and it is available on CD too, if that's something that interests you.
But definitely buy vinyl. It sounds like that's the way to go.
Yeah, I'm a vinyl guy too. My daughter actually collects vinyl.
Ooh, I like it. Yeah, I see that you got a good collection behind you.
Maybe that's part of it.
Yeah, I like it.
But again, thank you so much for joining us today. It's been a lot of fun. I've been waiting to get musicians on, and you're our first. And we got another one scheduled for Friday, so I'm really excited. But again, thank you. And everybody check out Rocky's stuff, rockykramer.com. I'll put the links in the description below. And from all of us, have a great night.